What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I don't think I'm shocking anybody when I say, barring him getting absolutely lit up in Winnipeg's final 14 games, Connor Hellebuyck is going to win his second career Vezina, putting him in pretty rarefied air and on track to be a safe Hall of Famer, probably future top 20 goalie of all time. When you look at recent guys, Carey Price never won 2 Vezinas. Vasilevsky hasn't won 2 Vezinas. Lundqvist didn't win 2 Vezinas. Only Bobrovsky post Martin Brodeur, I think, has won 2 Vezinas. So that is pretty goddamn elite. Not saying that he's greater than a Price, than a Vasilevsky right now for the most part. But when looking at Hellebuyck, despite all this success, he was absolutely slept on in his draft class, going 130th in the 5th round to the Winnipeg Jets. There was 12 other goalies drafted before him, and it's pretty interesting because there's actually some pretty solid goalies that were drafted ahead of him, one that you can maybe make an argument as being better. But when looking at it, we're going to go through these 12 names and see how these guys panned out. Again, there's a couple elite guys, couple solid 1As, 1Bs, and just a couple straight up busts. So, also, this is Mike from the future. I forgot to give credit to Nathan, aka Gravite, if you know him. He's one of my favorite hockey content creators. I've had him on the page. He did something similar with Jason Robertson. He went over the 25 forwards that were drafted before Jason Robertson back in 2017. So, want to give credit to that. That inspired this, considering how good Hellebuyck's playing. Back to the video. The first guy that was taken ahead of Connor Hellebuyck was Sean McGuire. Sean McGuire went 113th to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and yeah, he didn't really work out for them that much. He never saw a single NHL game, didn't put up that impressive of AHL numbers or ECHL numbers. His final year playing pro hockey in 2018 posted like 845, 846 in 13 ECHL games. So though clearly Sean McGuire, big mistake not taking a Connor Hellebuyck. Next up, not a bust by any means, Frederik Andersen. He's weird because he got drafted twice. He got drafted in 2018 as, I believe he was a 20-year-old in that draft. And in 2012 again, when he was 22 years old, going to the Anaheim Ducks, 87th overall. And yeah, he was a pretty good selection. Is he as good as Connor Hellebuyck? No, but he did have a more of an immediate impact because he did get drafted at 22 years old. Very good for the Anaheim Ducks. Basically, since he debuted in 2013 to 2014, up until let's say 2019, his stats did start to fall off. He was pretty safely like a top 8 to 12 goalie. He was a very, very good goalie. And as a result, as you can see, he has 290 career wins. There's a realistic chance that he cracks like the top 40 all time in wins, that he gets to like 330, 340. He has had a very nice career. Obviously, no Connor Hellebuyck, but was for 8 years a top 8 to 12 goalie. Never really sniffed a Vezina, but a very, very, very good player, Frederik Andersen, well worth the 87th overall pick. Third guy on this list is Matt Murray, who went 83rd overall to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So yes, they did draft 2 goalies before Connor Hellebuyck in this, but Matt Murray clearly was not a massive mistake, although he hasn't had the career that Connor Hellebuyck has had. He mattered when he mattered. He played good when it mattered most, winning the Stanley Cup, of course, in 2016, 2017. So if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins, do you draft Connor Hellebuyck? Maybe he doesn't win you those Stanley Cups. Yes, they'd be far better and far more competitive right now with the Connor Hellebuyck, but I don't think that they're losing massive sleep over taking Matt Murray over Connor Hellebuyck at 83rd overall. So not a horrible selection, but obviously hasn't had the career that Connor Hellebuyck has had. Next up, we got Jake Patterson to the Detroit Red Wings at 80th overall. As you see, they had a bit of a run on goalies here. 87th, 83rd, 80th. When looking at Jake Patterson, again, never played in the NHL like our guy Sean McGuire. And what stings here is this was by the Detroit Red Wings. Guess where Connor Hellebuyck is from? He's from Michigan. He's from the Detroit area. I believe that's a Detroit suburb. So yeah, that stinks for the Detroit Red Wings. They didn't get a single NHL game out of Patterson. Meanwhile, their hometown kid is going to be a 2-time Vezina winner and an easy hockey Hall of Famer one day, potential top 20 goalie of all time. That's tough. That's tough. They opted for a Mississauga, Ontario kid. Chris Driedger at 76th overall. So again, there was 4 goalies taken between 76th and 87th overall. None of them Connor Hellebuyck. Now, Driedger's a pretty interesting one, considering he was looking very promising. At the end of the 2020 season before the lockout, it was only 12 games, but a 938. Then he kind of split the workload with a Sergei Bobrovsky, posted a 927 during the 56-game season. Then he got expansion draft to Seattle. Him and Grubauer, just the team sucked. They also just didn't really play to what they expected. Then I believe he tore his ACL or like something like a serious injury happened with him. Basically didn't play all the 2023 season. And now he has appeared in 2 games and is playing pretty good in the AHL. So not a total bust like our boys Jake Patterson and Sean McGuire, but definitely wasted potentially because of that injury. He was looking promising, but now it's not looking very good. John Gillies, 75th overall. So add to that again, what is that? 5 goalies in a 12 pick range. None of them Connor Hellebuyck. Gillies most recently played for the New Jersey Devils. 885. There's a reason why he hasn't been around the NHL since. It doesn't even appear like he's playing pro hockey right now. That is very disappointing. Obviously did not work out for the Calgary Flames. Daniel Altschuler, 69th overall to the Carolina Hurricanes. Never played a single NHL game. Let me move my camera out of the way here. Basically was an ECHL, AHL tweener for the most part until he eventually hung it up in 2019. So that's pretty bad. That's an early third-round pick wasted on a guy that never played a single NHL game. Korpisalo, 62nd overall. A lot of goalies in the third round. None of them Connor Hellebuyck. He was taken by the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yeah, this guy just has been extremely sporadic throughout his entire career. You look at him first season with the Columbus Blue Jackets, posted 920 in 31 games. Then 2 very mediocre seasons, 3 very mediocre seasons. Then he shows some life again in the 2020 season, 37 games, a 911, then stinks, then gets traded midseason when he was playing really good, plays good on the LA Kings. He tricks Pierre Dorion into giving him a 5-year, $4 million per deal. I just hit my water bottle. He tricks him into doing that, and he goes back to being utter shit. So he hasn't been that bad. Again, not like some of the guys that we've seen, just far too sporadic. Not worth the money that he's getting paid right now. And as a result, his perception is in the absolute toilet, and kind of rightfully so with that contract. Not a Connor Hellebuyck. Next up, Anthony Stolarz. He's a pretty interesting one. Went 45th overall to the Philadelphia Flyers. Didn't play a lot of games with the Philadelphia Flyers. Jumped with the Philadelphia Flyers over to the Oilers during 2019. Kind of found a little bit of a home with the Anaheim Ducks. Pretty solid with the Anaheim Ducks when you look at him. 2021, only 8 games, but in 926. 2022, 917 in 28 games. Not a good Ducks team. Has a bit of a down year. Then they decide to move off him in order for Dostal to come up. Makes sense. And he's been great with the Florida Panthers. Him and Bobrovsky have formed one of the most underrated tandems in the entire NHL. Bobrovsky has like a 916 and 40-something games. Stolarz has a 925. So again, I think he's probably going to be a very good 1B. Maybe, I think in the next 2 to 3 years, I assume they're going to try to keep him. I have no clue what's going on with Spencer Knight, if he'll ever be back to what we expected back in like 2022 or 2021. So when looking at it, maybe he'll just stay in Florida for the next couple of years. Him and Bobrovsky, not Vasilevsky. Him and Bobrovsky will be a very good guy. And again, I can see why this guy was drafted out of Connor Hellebuyck. 6'6", 243 pounds. That guy was an absolute beast. And he's from New Jersey. Wow, stud. Love Anthony Stolarz. Oscar Dank, 31st overall, the first pick of the second round to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Never really worked out. He's right now actually the Calgary Wranglers AHL guy, so he's been backing up Dustin Wolf for the last couple of years, the guy that was drafted in 2019. It's 7 years younger than him, playing kind of the mentor role to him. Yeah, just never really worked out in the NHL. Got some run with the Vegas Golden Knights, but didn't really prove himself for the most part. That's pretty bad at 31st overall. 31st overall, if you're selecting a goalie, you expect him to be, at the very least, a solid 1A going forward. We got 2 left. Malcolm Subban, everybody's favorite brother. Malcolm Subban, obviously, didn't really work out. 24th overall to the Boston Bruins. He had some run with the Vegas Golden Knights, but yeah, just never really proved himself. And has been in the AHL for the most part the last couple of seasons. Obviously, he had I remember when he got drafted, he had big expectations because his brother obviously was a superstar. So they were thinking, oh, if he's anything like his brother, he's going to be a goddamn Vezina contender. Kind of unfortunate, kind of too high of expectations. And as a result, he did end up being a pretty big bust for the Boston Bruins. Imagine if the Boston Bruins had Connor Hellebuyck. They still have Jeremy Swayman. What am I talking about? They're perfectly fine in terms of the goaltending department. And then the last guy to go ahead of Connor, or not the last guy, the first guy to go over Connor Hellebuyck. We've been going from reverse, the most closest. But the highest drafted guy in this draft is the one guy that you can make a strong argument, and a lot of people would say is better than Connor Hellebuyck, has had the better career. Definitely has a better career overall because he has the Stanley Cups, but individually can compare it to a Connor Hellebuyck, and that is obviously Andrei Vasilevsky. He has that one Vezina win. What was it, 2019? He has a Vezina finalist in 2021. He's been a finalist, I think, other times. Most of the time gets votes. Is having a bit of a down year, but this guy is also on track to be a safe hockey Hall of Famer. Top 20, top 15 goalie of all time. 288 wins already. He's an absolute stud, and he's obviously the one guy that definitely was worthy of his draft position at 19th overall. So there you have it. Those are the 12 guys that went ahead of Connor Hellebuyck in the 2012 draft. Vasilevsky, Subban, Dansk, Stolars, Korpisalo, Altschuler, Gillies, Drieger, Patterson, Murray, Frederick Anderson, Sean McGuire, and Connor Hellebuyck. And fun fact, there was another Vezina winner in this draft in Linus Ullmark. He was in like 163rd overall to the Buffalo Sabres. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? It's crazy how, especially with goalies, it's so sporadic. All the top guys for the most part. I could do this with Shesterkin and Sorokin that were like 3rd and 4th round picks. You just never really know with goalies. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? Should I do this with anybody else? Shout out Grab for inspiring this idea, and I'll be seeing the next one.